Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 88th episode of our first YouTube run through Book of Hours, playing as the artist. I got pulled aside between the previous episode and the current one, so I'm not as forgetful as I am on Monday, but I do need a quick recap just to make sure that I don't completely lose it for today. So we are reading Opus Magnum Caeruleum, or however that's pronounced. This is going to take pretty much the rest of the day, so I don't have too much hope of actually upgrading any lessons that come from it. We don't know, right? I'm expecting that we'll probably get 2 or 3 out of it, and maybe I'll get lucky, maybe it's something. Although, honestly, getting lucky would be being able to improve it would actually be really about improving some of my higher level lessons rather than the lower level ones. So one way or the other, we'll get through it. I am sort of still hoping that I can level up Sacralamea. So that is going to require 4 memories, and they'll be sky or moth memories. So on top of that, I am also going to need a sky or a moth to actually commit the lesson. So let's bring a Trist back right away. This is a little bit of a risk, incidentally, simply because I really don't know if I have what it takes to be able to get all of this done in time. But I figure it's probably better to give it a shot than not. And then, realistically, I just need Mr. Kill to give me 1 sky or 1 moth, at which point we can employ the Arab, the metal, and the shaft to to get me the remainder. But we'll see. Again, we don't know what's coming up. But I think it would be good to make the best effort that I can to be able to upgrade Sacralamea. So, Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. All right, foresight doesn't do much for me, but we'll hold on hope. Dead men don't tell no bloody tales. Who'd listen? Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry doesn't mind stopping for a gossip. So again, we can do this because we've already brought Mr. Kill up to his 9 sky. I may have... So, to be honest, one thing that I've never quite settled for myself is whether it is better to load up the... assistant at the very start of the day. I'm just straining out some tea right now, so I'm gonna have to use my mouse to do a bit of pausing. So I don't think the best way is to just completely load them up with every aspect at the start, because that's just a longer period of time in which you don't have memories that are being generated. And to a certain extent, you can say, all right, well, you only really need those memories at the end of the day when you commit everything. And that's true. But knowing what you have in terms of memories, like, there are 2 different sets of information that you can work with. If you're at the very beginning of the day and you know that you're going to be spending, let's say, 90 seconds or longer sort of loading up, Mr. Kill, Mrs. Kill, Reverend Timothy, Denzel, whoever it is, with the aspects that they'll need to open up a room. You know that you're going to be able to open up that room, but it's anyone's guess as to whether or not you're going to have what you need for opening up that room. Whereas as you go through the day, if you generate a few memories, then you have an idea. Okay, I haven't generated any moth, and we're at the halfway point of the day. I know that I'm going to have to put those, I'm going to have to put those, the tool and whatnot with this character, so I should be reserving more elements of the soul. So essentially, because the day keeps going by, and because you're going to be faced with decisions in terms of what you should be doing with your elements of the soul, it can actually be more helpful to generate some of those memories over time. So if I were to be playing, and again, like this is not the type of game where you want to stress about every last optimization that you could make, but what I would probably do in general is get some base level stuff out of the way at the start. And that's just because you can't really, if you save everything for the end of the day, the problem is that you miscount, which I constantly do. And then what happens is, you put all of that effort into leveling up the character, then the sun falls and you're not able to, to do the thing that you wanted. So usually the way that I kind of handle this is that for some of the basics, I'll put those in first. For something like the Mazarine Fife, that would be a perfect example of something that I would want to give to Mr. Kill right away, because the Mazarine Fife is something that might be used in, say, reading the Focus of Amber, for instance. So like this gives me 7 towards, between the Mazarine Fife and the Storm, that's 7 towards reading the Focus of Amber. It's not, the last word on it, but being able to generate 9 between Faust and skill can sometimes be a bit easier than trying to do it through other means. I don't think we'd be able to handle it in this case, but it sort of serves as an illustration. So the sorts of things that you may wind up using, so tools, sometimes elements of the soul, just so that you can refresh them, those are really good things to do at the start of the day. In general, and I've done this before, I don't know if I've done it in this playthrough as much just because I haven't hired as many people, but the usual idea is the very last things that I'll give them will be, the consumables, just because if let's say I give someone a consumable at the start of the day and then I change my mind, well, I don't get the consumable back. Like I can't make them throw it up and, put it back in the jar and then expect them to have it afterwards. So that's kind of the ideal. The catch is, though, that I do have a tendency to wind up getting sidetracked, particularly when I'm broadcasting, even if it's for YouTube and I'm completely on my own focused on this stuff. I really do have a tendency to get a little too much tunnel vision on some topics. So in this case here, I just went for the 9. If I was going for, say, the Weird Cursed Spire, well, that one I might I might have put a little more effort in. As an aside on that, by the way, so it's worth taking a minute to reflect. Like, what do we have with Mr. Kill right now? So we've got him to 9, and that is a result of a tool, assistance, and a memory. So what else can we give him? Well, we can give him wood, but unfortunately, that's not, there's no sky. Otherwise, the Mazarine Fife would have been a piece of cake to make. So we don't. We can't really rely on that. We can give beverages and we can give food. So there's tea. I can never remember. I believe it's just. Oh no, it's 1 forge and 2 sky, right? No, it's one sky, 2 forge. So we can bring that up to 10, but then we would need to find 2 more. One would be. Actually, I don't think there's a sky. Yeah, there isn't sky food. Maybe coming up short. So, the answer then would be I want to try and make the wind in waiting. I think out of caution, I'm going to bring back an element of the soul. I'll make like a core or something like that so I can make money with it. And it's just because we've got, 8 seconds with Mr. Kill. We don't know if it's going to be we don't know if it's going to be Moth or Sky, so. And it's not. So again, it's not the end of the world. I spent a bit more money than I wanted today, but we kind of knew that was probably going to happen just simply because I'd overcommitted in terms of gardening. That wasn't really necessary. So, could have gone differently. I'm not rending my garments over, how the day turned out, but I definitely could have gone a little different. Okay, so that's the hurry up sound. Now, if I was feeling particularly courageous, what I could do here, so this is normally the point where I would commit the Arab metal shaft and core. I can wait the 12 seconds, which would mean, actually in this case I think it's worth it with Mr. Kill. But let's read Opus Magnum Caerullium. Ambrose Westcott used to render the title of this venerable and anonymous work mockingly as The Big Blue Business. A kinder translation would be The Great Work in Azure. The reasons for Westcott's enmity to the work are clear to any pyroglyphicist. It is written at least 2 centuries before he was born, but anticipates or undermines many of his preferred conclusions. The work in question is the creation of the blue gold allegedly necessary for the terrible rite which allows a forge-along to become a name. The book mentions that pyroglyphics techniques can be used with forge to create iotic essence as a necessary component, but withholds the final step, insisting that the consequences are too dire and that any interest should remain only a matter of theory. Okay, so this is, I've not done the full Forge Apostle run, but I definitely know that there is some cool stuff there. So, pyroglyphics, I thought it was just about fireworks. So that's a foresight. Let's make sure that we log that in the appropriate location first. I think I keep the foresight and the hindsight. Yeah. I'm curious if this has enough space. Ugh. Yeah, that's the exact same length. Okay, well, I think the clear answer here is we kind of need to divide up another another shelf. And this seems as good of any to do it. I'm pretty sure with glimmerings I'm going to be able to remember. Actually, there's one thing that I could have done. God, I feel really crummy doing this, but I'm actually gonna try. So put the Tantra up in this slot. The question is, am I actually gonna remember that as foresight? Because I'm willing to guess there's going to be more foresight in future. Okay. But that does let me kick the can down the road, so... So we have a few of these sort of floating around, but given time, I suspect we'll see more of these. That's convenient. We'll see if I remember, but okay. 12 seconds. I think I'm still gonna hold the line. Now, the fact that it's pyroglyphics, does that change anything? Yes, quite a bit actually. Oh, shucks. Okay. This really throws me for a loop. So, oh no, here we go. Okay, 3. I thought for a second here that I didn't have pyroglyphics before. Okay, I can safely ignore this maybe? Nope. We've got foresight and regret. Ah, dear. But no lantern. Okay, yeah, so I think we'll probably just let that... I think we'll just let that fade away. So yes, we wait the 12 seconds, and we do what? I think at the very least it won't be as bad as yesterday in game, because hindsight. Okay, that doesn't give me anything. In the worst case, I just wind up tying up one more element of the soul. So I'll give a quick. So here's why I'm agonizing about this. I think I'm probably not going to change anything of what I'm doing, but it might be helpful to sort of highlight why this seems a little weirder than, or like why, like this probably seems like it should be a very straightforward choice, and it probably looks like I'm sort of agonizing over things that don't really need to. And I mean, maybe I am, because that's just my nature, but there are a couple of particulars in this case that make it... I hope this is the right one. So right now I'm looking for music. Oh, confounding parable is that's a go-to. We had Schaller stop by, might as well read his version. And okay, so those are all sky. Is there a moth that I can rely on that won't be generated by Mr. Kill? I can never remember what Savage Hymns gives me. Secret thresholds under certain circumstances would be useful, but not in this one. Okay, I think I bite the bullet and go for an impulse and just hope that the game is friendly. All right. So the reason why... So essentially what I've done now is that I've locked this all into Edict's Liminal. So the reason why I'm really kind of humming and hawing over all of these other aspects is that Mr. Kill is going to finish in 30 seconds. And he's going to generate a memory. Now, if he generates a memory that has got Forge or Lantern... that actually means that I can move up hieroglyphics. But the catch is that I can't move up hieroglyphics if I don't have a Forge or Lantern. And I have, locked up that metal and that shaft, but I do have a Faust which I could renew at the Sweet Bones. The problem is that if I renew this at the Sweet Bones, I'm not going to be able to use the full minute to work it or to, generate anything else. So it's possible that I just waste a tuppence for no reason. Now, again, it's a tuppence, like it's not the end of the world, but in this case, I think I'm gonna go without. But yeah, if in 30 seconds Mr. Kill gives me something that would level up hieroglyphics, I'm just gonna throw my hands up, or I'm like an impulse, or in fact anything with like a moth. I'm just gonna throw my hands up and assume that. Very specifically, Weather Factory has talked to Steam about identifying my player ID and is trying to drive me to an early grave. Okay, so it was another foresight. I can feel a little bit better about my choices now. Although it could still screw up because I, brought the wrong memory in. Night has fallen, dawn will come soon, so I want to make sure that we have 30 seconds more runway. It's only 12 seconds left here, though, so... Okay, Perugian Diaries. In 1907, at the age of 18, Christopher Lopoli left Strathcoyne's household to study theology at the University of Perugia in Italy, enrolling under the name Christopher Strathcoyne. For 4 years, since his adoption from a Bristol orphanage, Lopoli served as Strathcoyne's pupil and protege, but his relationship with this austere and secretive man was always complicated. His journal confides, I still think Fraser's intentions are good, certainly he agrees, but I never understood the final goal of his investigations. He was never prepared to enlighten me. Any good intentions or not, I can no longer bear this dream of eyes. We've agreed to part, almost amicably. Lopoli left Perugia in 1909 without completing his degree. He had long lost interest in his studies, and the latter half of his journal is concerned with his studies of Umbrian folk songs and notes towards his own compositions, which are of widely varying quality. One of the better ones, In the Marshes of Night, suggests that he had visited the site of the old Lake Fucinus near Ortuccio. So every time I read that, I always keep thinking about the Ortuccio incident, which I'm not able to... I don't think I've seen any other references to inside the game, but I do kind of want to know what happened there. Alright, The Wind's Ruin, the second volume of the Meditations of Abbot Thomas of the Abbey of the Black Dove. Abbot Thomas speaks of his time as a raider, when his name was not Thomas but Toke, scything the sea, striving for plunder. Abbot Thomas clearly regrets his storm years and much of the book is taken up with his thoughts on penitence, but there are hints that he also misses those years and the companionship of his sword brother, ship brother, Trygev. So we did get the beguiling melody. So I do tend to like the music just because that's not something that normally comes from the... Or, well, I say not normally. It may not ever come from villagers. I certainly haven't run into that. But it does give you sky, so I do tend to find the music is quite good for leveling up the sky knowledge. The Green Jasper Tablet, supposedly copied from a tablet of green jasper which serves as the covenant stone of the Monastery of the Fifth Cup, the token that gives that library shelter beneath the Watchman's Tree. Humankind hid itself from the glory's light in the roots of the Watchman's Tree, but for every chink we stuffed with cloth and hair we opened another, and the light crept in, until we looked below into nowhere, and the eye of the mare in the tree winked red. The tablet expounds the dangers of inviting in the nowhere hour called the mare in the tree, and also of forbidding her entry, since she can never entirely be denied. Along the way, it reveals the secret of the sacrament malachite, in which the merry mare merrily sips. I keep saying sips, but in which the merry mare merrily spits, brewed with the rights of the roots from the pneuma pear in the presence of sufficient nectar aspect. So there's the impulse we were looking for. We can at least have some moth to work with. And then one more book. Where on earth did I put it? It was the Vagabond desk, right? Nope, we already did that. Oh, the Ambrose's desk, of course. The Devoured Tantra. The diplomat priest Stanislav John Schaller transcribed this from the Library of a Red Long, but his manuscript remains in a private collection in Carisham. The Devoured Tantra warns of the uses and dangers of appetite, but devotes an entire passage to the star-limbed hunger-bringers, who it describes with obvious affection. A million blazing fires in the belly engulf what has been swallowed by the multiform mouths. For those of you wondering about the hunger-bringers, there may be a reason why this is stained. If anyone has not found the letters in this game, so there's a quote-unquote secret on the main title screen, and if you happen to like the lore of the game and you've not found that secret yet, sorry, this sounds like such a cheap way to get comments. It's more, I do sometimes get put off when people tell me what I feel are very obvious things, but I am also kind of aware enough that what's obvious to me is not necessarily obvious to other people, and vice versa. So, you know, it depends, right? It's like, you know, when you broadcast online, like, you'll have people, when you say dialogue from a game, like when a tutorial in a game tells you something, and literally 2 minutes after you say it out loud, someone will actually tell you, oh, well, in this game, what you need to do, and they'll tell you exactly what the tutorial said. And it's like, you didn't even give me a chance to, you know, to implement this thing that I just said. Anyway, so people basically talk to you like you're a moron. So with that in mind, I am sometimes a little reserved on these things. If you have not encountered the title page, so on the main menu of the screen, there's a bit of a secret, which if you like the lore of the game will probably delight you. And if you would like to know about that secret and where it is, I will be happy to tell you. Just leave a comment and I'll put it in there, because I feel like that is a nicer thing to do than just coming out and saying, hey dummies, here's how you open that up, and then, you know, somebody who wanted to discover that on their own, you know, gets that done. So I kind of feel most of you probably already know about this, but there you have it. Okay, so let's but yeah, anyways, one of them is related to the history of the inks, and it actually made me laugh when I first encountered it. So let's get the Sacralamea loaded up. So satisfying to have come so far. And we got an intuition. So yeah, I should actually put one of these in bed. I don't think it's really going to matter, but Squawkphologia. Birds crowd every corner of this place, glaring at me with malevolent yellow eyes. Guano cakes the walls and feathers drift to the floor. Something has drawn them here. It'll need to be dealt with. Once it has, the place will take an awful lot of cleaning. Okay. I don't think there's a difference between the stolen secret and the intuition for what I want to do right now. I think both are possible from a companion, although stolen secrets, I believe, are a little more rare, assuming that there is a difference in the weighting for the probabilities. I certainly encounter them less. So we'll dream on that memory. Now that night has fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. Okay. I think I'm probably going to leave the spire aside. We'll see what else we can find in the tower here. And I actually don't mind leaving it to pyroglyphics and reading the secret colors for the next little while. Skill is now level 5. Its power aspects have also increased. Yeah, I'm not really going to go rushing into books, or into rooms if I can. Ah, I really want this book. This is 2 playthroughs now that I haven't been able to read the White Book of Brittany. So there are, so far as I can tell, there are 3 ink books that correspond with the Flowers of the Watchman's Tree. So a volume of death lore given to St. Brendan's by Brian of Brittany, who was made Earl of Cornwall after the Norman Conquest. So there's, I believe, the White Book of Brittany, and then in my other playthrough I have the Red Book of Brittany and the Black Book of Brittany. Again, we have the Flowers of the Watchman's Tree. Well, it's bare, so I can't really show them to you, but it does have a tally price of 4, though, which I can't currently afford, so life's full of disappointments. I'll have to get over it. Now, good news is that we have all of my elements of the soul, and I don't think it would hurt to bring Mrs. Kill in for a conversation. So Mrs. Kill's mood always improves when I drop by. Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. I will go back on my usual Sweet Bones, earnings rotation. If I, find another use for it, great. We'll set that aside, but I don't think it hurts to put a little effort in. And there's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Now, I do want to get an early start on the secret colors, particularly because I likely have some dancing around to do in terms of the... actually, I guess I've already got the memory, so... No, I think we can actually take a shot at this. So, secret colors. Oh, wrong desk, though. We can use Ava's desk here. So, Black Ellie, disgraced Damascene matriarch of the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot, wrote this while fleeing the agents of the duty. So we'll do our highest level moon, which should be Sickle and Eclipse. We'll use the Wormwood Dream. Now, our width option, we have 2 possibilities here. So one option that I have is to add Catwink. The other option that I have is to go for the Lunar Globe. Now, the Catwink is consumable, but the thing is, it's not that hard for me to make. And I'm slightly more inclined to... So basically, I don't want to take any chances here. I need 1 more moon, but if it asks me for an element of the soul, unlike when I normally get that challenge, I actually do have a moon that I can give it. So we're going to lock that in for today, regardless of what the weather is. If we get a foggy day, that's just even better. What's going to happen next is we're going to, in 16 seconds, have a 2 moon memory from the Stolen Secret. Now, if we don't need the memory, that's great. Then all that we do there is we use that to either make the replacement Catwink, or maybe we try to get another moon. I don't know. The rest of the day is a little more... I don't know, it's a little trickier for me to figure out. So the reason why I'm bringing in Mrs. Kill is so that I can load up on memories that I would use for pyroglyphics. So in total, if I wanted to dedicate it to improving pyroglyphics, and I really don't see why I wouldn't want to do that, we would want first the 3 and then the 4. So essentially we're looking at a total of 7 Forge or Lantern memories. And then 9 in total, because we're going to need to use Fost, Metal, or Shapt. Fost, Metal, Shapt, or Whist, because Whist has Lantern as well. So that seems doable. I mean, so if we were to just take what we have right now, keeping in mind we need to leave the Tryst aside, we have got... we said it was 9 in total. So we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we have exactly 9 available. So I could actually just throw all my elements of the soul at it and call it a day. But I think what I'm going to do is we're going to keep talking with Mrs. Kill. What I might do is bring in things like the Glimmerings. So let's just think about the ones. So Glimmering's technically a name day riddle, but that's a little more complicated for... Well, no, not with Edict's Liminal. So I could probably make that with Edict's Liminal without any problems. So maybe a name day riddle. Is that it? Yeah, I think all the other Forge and Lantern would be things that Mrs. Kill can make. So anyways, we load up the memories that we can that wouldn't be duplicating what the follower can bring in. And then essentially as time goes by, we load up, what we can into pyroglyphics. And of course, that assumes that we have something else to do with those elements of the soul. And one of the advantages of waiting is that as we try to read the secret colors, and once we sort of know what we're dealing with in terms of lessons, we may be able to convert some of those into other memories, which then we can use to upgrade the secret colors. So that's why, it's kind of nice to be able to just have a holding pattern with the Sweet Bones, to be able to talk with Mrs. Kill to get as many memories as we can, and just generally chill out for a little bit. Because if it turns out that the secret colors winds up giving me something, just in terms of lessons that maybe I could employ towards, Rose, or maybe it would help me out with the Kukurbit prisoner records or something like that. That's a nice follow-up if possible. I'm not going to hold my breath on it, but it is something that I want to, allow as a possibility. As for the rest, I think I can make Catwink with Inks of Containment. We're definitely past the time, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about this stuff, but yeah, that's a 5 moon. That's really... Actually, that's a lunar globe. God, I'm actually kind of tempted to do it right now. But yeah, if I use the lunar globe at a desk, Inks of Containment, the way that it is right now, we can make a replacement Catwink. So that is absolutely not a concern. But these are all things that we will handle in the future. So priority number 1, finish off Pyroglyphics. I'm glad that we got one of our priority books off the list. It's a little weird we didn't go for a second glory, but again, it's just because I had an opportunity to take on a bigger book, which, I may or may not have future opportunities to work on. The Scar in the Sky is actually not that different from the second glory. So I'll rearrange the... Well, we don't know we've read this book yet, so I'll just leave that where it is. But yeah, we've got a few more things that I can probably read if I'm so motivated. But once we see... Actually, here's what we'll do. We'll wait the 15 or 16 seconds so we can at least... No, you know what? I've had enough cliffhangers this week. We can add another one. So we will see what happens when we read the book. I'm thinking of how long. As soon as I open that, I'm going to want to talk about the contents as well. So on Monday we will see what's waiting for us in the new room. We will see whether or not we succeed at reading the secret colors. And then we'll do our best to load up as many skills as we can before we cross over into spring, with our stipend and more opportunities to hire people. Remembering that spring is when the miners come into the town, and so we'll be able to get them to help us with the Rustling Stair. I forgot about the Mist-Sunk Meadow. That's actually something we'll get Mr. Kill to help us with. And if we're lucky, we might even be able to use the moon with the Wormwood Dream to help us with the Weald-Filled Spring. But all of that is for next week. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do still, I'm sure most of you have noticed, I see the comments. I do like, seeing the likes. I try not to obsess about the metrics, but I do try to keep that as a, just an overall idea of the health of the channel. I know this is a long series, and I appreciate those of you that have been sticking with it. I don't want that to be taken for granted. So I know it extends my goodbyes and all of that, but I think it's important to say nonetheless. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back Monday to tie off some of these mysteries. Until then, take care.